So often we forget two truths. Number one, there is a God. Number two, I am not him. Last weekend, we looked at King Nebuchadnezzar and how he learned this lesson. He was humbled before God and loses his throne until after 7 years, he finally lifts his eyes toward heaven and essentially says, Lord, you are God, and I am so not God. And he says this in Daniel chapter 4, verse 35. The king says this about God. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the peoples of earth, and no one can hold back his hand or say to him, what have you done? And that reminds me of what Paul writes in Romans chapter 9, verse 20. Who are you, a human being, to talk back to God? Shall what is formed say to the one who formed it, why did you make me like this? God has a plan for me and for you, and that is to form us into Christ-likeness, to become like Jesus in character. But many of us don't trust God enough to believe that he has a plan that's always operating on our behalf. And so we never make peace with the hard things God allows to remain in our lives to fulfill his plan for us. But what's fascinating for me as I look back on my own life is that many of the things that I felt at the time were robbing me of the life that I really wanted, financial trouble or getting fired from a job once or losing my dad and then losing my stepdad. God used all those things to mold me, to shape me into the image of Jesus, character-wise. Think back on the tough times in your own life. Has God ever used them for good in your life? Has God ever used them to develop your character? My sister Heidi and I have talked many times about how God used our family's time of grief and poverty to mature us, to develop Christ-like character in us. Has that ever happened to you? Honestly, if so, I'd love for you to comment in the posts below, because I think that's going to encourage others who watch this then read the posts. There is a God. It's not me. Trust that God has a plan. He has a plan for you. He has a plan for you to become more Christ-like. And everything that happens to you, he will use toward that plan, toward that end, today. So trust that as you go through the day today. As King Nebuchadnezzar eventually realized, God has a plan. And the clay cannot say to the potter, what are you doing? The potter's got an idea of what he's doing with the clay. And so let's realize that, let's allow that in our lives and trust God. There is a God. It's not me. There is a plan. God doesn't always tell me his plan, but his plan even includes the tough things in my life. Think about that today.